Good morning. Welcome back to Near Post Flick On. Tottenham have done it. They have gotten their man. Thomas Frank has now been officially unveiled as the Tottenham Hotspur manager, taking over from Ange Postecoglou. Of course, we know the Tottenham hopeful. They wanted Ange to stay on. I'd say maybe about 75% of the Tottenham fans wanted Ange Postecoglou to stay on and build on the success that he had already achieved with Tottenham thus far, but he wasn't afforded that opportunity. As we know, he was sacked last week. But Thomas Frank has been unveiled as the new manager, the new head coach at Tottenham Hotspur. And I guess, yes, the Thomas Frank era does begin at Spurs. Um, you know, you've got to kind of look at it from two ways. Is it a risk for the manager taking his job? Yes, it's a risk for Thomas Frank taking his job, because we all know how ruthless Daniel Levy is. If he doesn't hit the ground running and get the results that Daniel wants, he will be out of the door. If you cast your mind back to Nuno Espirito, he wasn't given that opportunity at Tottenham. A couple of results didn't go his way. He was out of the door. Now this is it's a massive job for Frank. Because there's a lot of factors that you've got to consider. He's got to make sure the players are on board. As we've seen some of the messages that the players have sent out on social media, they obviously have that affection for Ange. So he's got to kind of get that changing room on side ASAP. He's got to do it as a matter of urgency, because, as I say, he won't be afforded any time to try and build and take his time with things and try and make steady progress. You've got to go in there and he's got to get the job done. Otherwise, as I say, he's at the door, and it is a risk for Spurs as well. Personally, I would have liked to have seen Big Ange given that third season. But unfortunately, he was sacked and we've got to move on. That's just the way football goes. So, yep, Tottenham have gotten their man, Thomas Frank. He was always the front runner. I think it's probably one of the worst kept secrets in football. We saw it in the news, we saw it in the papers. Everywhere you went, Thomas Frank, his name kept on popping up. And yes, he has now officially been named as the Tottenham head coach. So, the question is he the right man for the job? Well, I mean, from a Premier League perspective, you could argue that yes, he is, because Tottenham finished 17th and arguably their worst season in the Premier League era. I mean, their worst season ever. Let's face it. 22 defeats. So all he's got to do, really, from that perspective, is make sure Tottenham finish in the top 10. I'm sure there will be greater expectations for him, and that would have been set out by the owners and Daniel Levy, of course. But just from outsider looking in, I'm guessing finishing anywhere in the top 10 will be job done for him. But as I say, he's got to make sure the players are on board and he's got to hit the ground running. He will not be afforded any time at all. So he's got to go in there. So it is a risk. It's a risk for the club because, if it backfires, I'm sure the fans will be screaming out, Daniel Levy out, Levy out, Levy out. And they'll say, oh, he should have kept Ange on. And I personally feel Ange deserved a third year. But, I don't write the check book, do I? So, yeah, so is he the right man for the job? As I say, he's got a lot to build on. So the bar is very low at the moment. And all he's got to do is maybe get into the top 10 and play some good football and, do a lot of tinkering in that squad as well. Um, I don't think there'll be any pressure in winning winning a silverware at all, in winning any silverware or in winning any cup competitions. Of course, he would have been given a clear agenda and clear objectives as to what is expected of him. But in terms of winning a trophy, I don't think it will have that type of pressure on him to win a trophy in his first season. But I think the most important thing would be finishing and performing better in the Premier League. I think that would be the priority. Um, yeah, so Thomas Frank, he is definitely the new manager. And to be fair, I think he's got a mountain. He's got a mountain because he's got to make sure the players are on side. They've got to buy into his philosophy. They've got to warm to him ASAP. So I don't think he'll have any. I don't think he will have any time really to try and figure things out. He's got to make sure that he's going there with a clear intentions and clear instructions for the players as to what he wants from them. Um, he definitely goes into that Tottenham side with a lot of inheritance. To be fair, he's got a team now that have now accomplished something. They've won the Europa League, so they've got that little bit of winning mentality. So he's got to kind of build on that winning mentality. He's going to be getting Champions League football. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't have any experience in the Champions League or managing a Champions League side. So this will be a new experience for him, but it could work in his favour. You never know. It could work in his favour. And again, he inherits a good squad of players. Now he can bring in. He's got the option to obviously bring in his own players, and I think that's probably why they wanted to do the deal and bring him in this summer transfer window. So what players can he pinch from Brentford? Well, you could argue that he could go for Mboma um, if he doesn't go to Manchester United, so he could kind of nick him, and he could possibly bring in Wisa as well. But I think Mbeumo will probably be the best option for that Tottenham side because Tottenham already have a good squad. They have a good squad of players. So maybe bringing in those two players would kind of elevate the squad as well. So, but yeah, I think it's a tough one for him. You don't want to criticize him. You don't want to criticize him because at the end of the day, you can only work with what's in front of you. You don't want to criticize him, and at the same time, I'm sure Tottenham supporters will be, they'll probably take some time to warm to him because you still got the Ange factor, and it will take some time for the fans and the supporters to kind of warm to him. But at the end of the day, he is the manager, so I think everyone's got to get behind the manager. And yeah, let's see how this goes. Let's see how it goes. It promises to be an exciting season for Spurs. And let's see. You never know. You never know. He could go in there, make a couple of changes, and Spurs could be competing. They could be competing for the Premier League. We'll never know. We'll just have to see and wait and see how it goes. But yes, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.